The United States of America is effectively capitulating and admitting that Iran has won this war and can consolidate its dominance in the region. The agreement between Iran and the United States is practically ready, which will put an end to the war in the Middle East, but this agreement will effectively declare Iran the winner of this war. The entire team of Donald Trump, including himself, states that the deal with Tehran is practically ready and will soon be presented to the public. For example, Trump stated that the White House does not expect an agreement to be reached on Sunday that would put an end to the war with Iran, and he believes that it may take several days for the deal to be approved by the Iranian leadership, including the supreme leader, from Khamenei's headquarters. But in his opinion, the chances for peace are very, very high. Although, let me remind you, Trump himself just a few hours earlier stated that a final decision would definitely be made on Sunday. At the same time, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio stated that in the coming hours, there may be some good news regarding the situation around the Hormuz Strait. The White House even managed to publish preliminary points of the future peace agreement. But suddenly, the Iranian representatives themselves stated that Trump was lying. Iran did not agree to hand over enriched uranium and didn't even promise to open the Hormuz Strait as part of the current negotiations. I'm Alexei Pechiy, let's discuss this together. But before we start, I ask you to subscribe to this YouTube channel, like the episode, and write any detailed comment under this video. I will be very grateful to you for that. And also subscribe to my Telegram channel Pechiy News, the link to it is in the description of this video. There we publish breaking news as soon as it comes in. So, let's go through everything step by step. In short, many experts are now convinced that the upcoming deal currently being discussed by Donald Trump looks like a victory for Tehran, which has dragged the American president into the quagmire of negotiations that Iran can prolong right up until the November congressional midterms. The Iranians got their assets unfrozen, which hadn't happened before the war. A blockade was exchanged for a blockade, the US lifts its blockade, and Iran supposedly promises to lift the Strait of Hormuz blockade. So, there's no real result after the war, since the blockade only happened because of it. For Israel, this is the most unpleasant part, because the Iranians still managed to push a ceasefire in Lebanon into this deal, tying it to the main front. But the question is, where do these conclusions come from? And this is where we need to dig deeper. Let me remind you that on Saturday, President Trump announced that an agreement to end the war with Iran would be announced soon, and that negotiations are currently underway on the final aspects. Trump's comments came after separate phone conversations with leaders of Arab and Muslim countries, as well as with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. This is the strongest statement by the US president about his willingness to agree to the memorandum of understanding that is being discussed with Iran. This announcement is intended to put an end to the war, gradually open the Hormuz Strait, and begin at least 60 days of more detailed negotiations on issues including Iran's nuclear program. And now, Axios reports that all the leaders of the Persian Gulf urged Trump to end the war because he has already shown that he cannot win it. And now the leaders of Arab and Muslim countries are saying, listen, we no longer believe that you will win in the region. Well, Trump can't change anything except just announce negotiations that could last forever. And the Gulf countries are saying, listen, maybe you should just keep negotiating because we're tired of this war and you can't win it. Everyone can already see that Trump is powerless, even though Trump is now trying to present a failure as a victory. The thing is, the agreement that the US and Iran are supposedly about to sign provides for an extension of the ceasefire for 60 days during which the Strait of Hormuz will be reopened. Iran will be able to freely sell its oil, meaning all sanctions will be lifted, and there will also be negotiations on limiting Iran's nuclear program. Not elimination, limitation. And even then, only negotiations will take place afterwards. So Iran gets a lot of concessions but doesn't promise anything in return, not at all. The point is that this way, Donald Trump is trying to put out the fire that he himself started. The agreement will help avoid an escalation of the war and reduce pressure on global oil supplies. However, it is unclear whether this agreement will lead to a lasting peace deal that will also address nuclear issues. It is now expected that both sides will sign a memorandum of understanding. It will be valid for 60 days and can be extended by mutual agreement. For 60 days, the Strait of Hormuz will be open without any passage fees. That's what the Americans believe. And Iran will agree to clear the mines placed in the strait to ensure the free passage of ships. In return, the US will lift the blockade of Iranian ports and grant Iran some exemptions from sanctions to allow Tehran more freedom to sell its oil. Let me remind you, before the war, there were actually quite strict sanctions. Now Trump says he'll lift the blockade, unfreeze assets, and end sanctions. So what's the problem? All this will benefit the Iranian economy, and Trump will lose his main leverage. It's funny that, according to American sources, Iran, through intermediaries, gave the US verbal promises regarding the scale of concessions it is ready to make under pressure, and by stopping uranium enrichment and giving up nuclear material. But Iran refused to include this promise in the memorandum. They say only verbally, just verbally. But the US agreed even to that. Moreover, it looks like Trump is ready to do anything just to get out of a war that he is clearly losing. Trump's supporters will now comment saying, "Pechiy, you don't understand Donald Trump's brilliant strategy, but what's so great about it? He's just signing up for failure, a real agreement." The draft memorandum of understanding clearly states that the war between Israel and Hezbollah in Lebanon will be stopped and Hezbollah will continue to exist. The Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, has already stated that he is completely shocked by such a clause. And now the US Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, comes out and announces that in the coming hours there may be some good news regarding the situation around the Hormuz Strait. Next, I'll share an interesting quote from him. "I really believe that there is some good news on this front, but it's not final news. But maybe a bit later today we'll be able to share more. Some progress has been made." The US has seen some progress over the past 48 hours. And if the agreement is successful, it could provide us not only with fully open straits, open straits without charging tolls, but also solve some key issues underlying Iran's previous ambitions for nuclear weapons. Did you hear Rubio's quote? But it looks like Rubio hasn't announced anything yet. First of all, representatives of Tehran have already stated that Iran did not agree to transfer its stockpiles of highly enriched uranium and said that this issue was not part of the preliminary agreement with the United States. And also in Iran, they rejected all American statements about the Strait of Hormuz. Iran's Fars news agency today publishes an official statement from the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. Quote, "In the event of a possible agreement with the US, the Strait of Hormuz will still remain under Iranian control. This in no way means free passage, as it was before the war. The management of the strait, determination of the route, timing, method of passage, and issuance of permits will remain exclusively under the control and at the discretion of the Islamic Republic of Iran. Therefore, Trump's statement in this regard is incomplete and inconsistent." What do you think of such a victory by the American president? And already on Sunday morning, the White House stated that it does not expect an agreement to be reached on Sunday that would put an end to the war with Iran. And it believes that it may take several days for the deal to be approved by the Iranian leadership, including Supreme Leader Mojtaba Khamenei. And just last night, Trump stated that tomorrow, on Sunday, he would either make a decision to resume the war or we'd have a really favorable deal. As you can see, in fact, even now, even the biggest supporters of the American president are saying, damn, this is a failure. Tehran comes out as the winner. Tehran strengthens its position in the region, keeps its proxy forces, maintains its nuclear program, and as a result of the war, even gained control over the entire Hormuz Strait. That's what these negotiations are like. I'll leave it at that. Share your opinions and conclusions in the comments below this video. Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and don't forget to like. If you want to support the work of this YouTube channel, you can do so with any donation using the links and details in the description of this video or by using the QR code on your screens. That's all for now. Take care of yourselves. Goodbye, everyone.